back in the early 2000s or maybe late 1990s, we were a big office. We had like 25 employees. We had a big government contract. And one day we got a fax over that says they were no longer doing business with us. They wanted somebody that can do the whole state of Ohio. And back then we were only doing certain counties. So overnight we went from 200 deals a month to like 10, and we had to instantly lay off 16 people.
Wow.
You're tuned into The Freedom Show, and welcome to another exciting episode.
We're super excited to have you back today. We are going to be having an interview with Susan Biddle-Jewell today. She is within our network, and she's the title company that we close 99.9999% of our deals with. And we're excited to have her on because we feel like not enough people get to know title companies, and they don't know which questions to ask and how to choose the right title company. I will tell you that it's very rare for title companies to be investor friendly. Sue Biddle-Jewell and All Points Title is an investor-friendly title company who does subject to transactions, land contracts, novation deals, regular deals with regular, realtors where people are buying their home or selling their home. All of our turnkey transactions. It's just something not talked about a lot, and we thought it was really important, again, to use this platform to be able to introduce you to the people that we work with and that are in our network. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about before we invite Sue on the show was just private money lending and turnkey real estate investments in general, because Sue is who we use, again, for nearly everything that we do. It's rare that we have a deal that we are forced to use another title company, and typically when that happens, something does go wrong. So our private money lenders, they only work with Sue. Sue knows 100% of our private money lenders, and Sue works very closely with Tiffany on all of our deals when we buy them and then when we sell them, in the creation of the payoff statements, in the liens, in the lien releases, all of that stuff. Tiffany and Sue work very closely together, and I think that's important because we've said over and over that our private money lending relationships are some of the most important relationships to us. And it's not, and I say some because it's not just private money lending. It's our master note investors. It's just our investors in general. The people who have trusted us and lent money to us via private money or via master notes or via a fund that we have created, and they entrusted that capital with us to do what we do, and to continue to grow our companies and build this massively strong foundation that we have so many people wanting to work with us, so many people wanting to partner with us, so many people saying, hey, I want to create something like this. Like, you guys are vertically integrated. Like, you have so much control and so much power. I would like to do this with you. That power came from our investors and them trusting us to be private money lenders, master note investors, fund investors, even our syndication investors as we got into apartments. And so that relationship is so very important that we only trust that relationship with the best of the best. And Sue, at All Points, is the best of the best in our opinion, and that's why we chose her. That's why we continue to work with her. And when people ask me, how do I do due diligence? Because I encourage everybody, do due diligence. Ask people what their worst deal is. Find out where they're failing. And the reason why you're asking these questions is because you want to understand their character, right? You want to understand what happens to your business, what happens to the investor, what happens to your deal when things go wrong. That's when you learn the character of the person and if they're going to tuck tail and run or stick through it and make sure that the people that trusted them are taken care of. And so we will lose money before we ever allow our private money lenders or investors to lose money. I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are paid 100% of capital back and every piece of interest owed for the time that we use their capital as promised. And so that relationship that we have with Sue is super important because she's the one that can say, hey, and I tell people, call Sue. She closes 99.9999% of our deals. Ask her if there's ask her about the volume of deals that we close with her every single year. Ask her about the private lending relationships that she has. Has there ever been a situation where that private money lender did not get fully paid back plus everything owed to them? Ever, even once. And she will get to tell you the story instead of us. I think it's important we can shout it from the rooftops, but it's really important for you to be able to ask somebody that's a third party and doesn't work for our company and is not us, right? Because we believe in being vetted. We believe in you doing your due diligence so that you feel comfortable with who you're working with. And that track record is just super, super powerful. So
Yeah, I think the title companies are, Sue in general, she's an unsung hero.
yes.
Nobody goes, my title company's the best. I mean, we do, because we know it. But very rarely do you hear that. I think that they're also 95% of the time, they're just overlooked.
Yeah.
Regular real estate with the realtors and buying and selling retail properties. A lot of times the title company is like, well, whatever, whoever you want to use, that's fine. It's really not that important, but it is. And people say, oh, well, you guys have sort of a connection to All Points. That's not why we use All Points. We use All Points because they are amazing. Every time we've had to do, and I say had because it's always had, we've never said, okay, we'll use a different title company. That's fine. Whatever. It's every time we've had to use a different title company, something has gone wrong.
Yes.
Or something happened where we've had to still bring All Points in. And now, whenever somebody makes us use another title company, we still use All Points. We pay extra to have All Points still doing, and they still find stuff.
Yes.
So it's crazy, and it's something that people say, oh, well, I'll just let my realtor pick my title company. It's hard as a consumer to know what title companies are the best, and we're saying this because to other investors, that's hopefully listening to this podcast that hey, if I want to use a title company, which one, we're going to tell you why, not because some other investor has a friend that's in a title company. That's not why we use All Points. We use All Points because they are amazing.
Yeah. And I'll share a little story before we invite Sue onto the show. It's about a private lender that we were working with, and Tiffany was working with this different title company, and they were asking the private money lender to sign a release of mortgage before they got their money back. And
we're going to give you your money.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Tiffany was just like, Dani, I don't think that we should tell our private lender to do this. Do
Yeah.
you? I can't believe this title company is asking our private money lender to sign a release of mortgage before they actually get their money. Because you signing a release of mortgage means you got all of your money back and you got all of your interest owed. So there should not be a lien on that property. And Tiffany was like, red flag. And she came to me. I said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sign it. And therefore, we're not going to let our private lender sign it. Sue would never have asked a lender to do that. Now, this particular title company that asked this, they made it a policy because sometimes it's hard to get people after they've gotten their money back to sign the release. And if they don't sign the release, there's this lien on a property. So I understand why they did the process. It's just not ethical, in my opinion, to ask somebody to sign a piece of paper before they've actually gotten their funds.
That's convenient for them, but
Yes.
nobody else.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So these are just examples of why we think the right title company is so incredibly important. It's why we felt like it was important to bring Sue on our podcast, and we are really excited to invite her on and let her share her freedom story of how she's gotten, how far she has, and including all the ups and downs, and her plan for her legacy and how she's passing down the wealth. It's a fantastic story, and we're also going to dig into the questions you should be asking title companies to make sure that you're working with one that you can trust. So we hope you enjoy the show.
Once again, you're tuned into the Freedom Show. We are here in the studio having a conversation. We're really excited to share with you. Today's guest is Susan Biddle-Jewell. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. But before we get too deep into things, Flip is going to read your bio.
All right. Sue was hired by All Points Title as a co-op senior year of high school, and she will be celebrating 41 years in this February 2024. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
All Points has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are active members of the Hamilton Chamber and are active members of the Ohio Land Title Association. Sue lives in Westchester with her husband and two youngest daughters, a Frenchie, a miniature Yorkie, guinea pig, and a potbelly pig that we were just talking about named Emmy. She has been married to her husband for 14 years and has a blended family of 8 children, 18 grandchildren, and 3 great-granddaughters. Oh, my gosh.
Wow!
Holy smokes. I had to let me swallow. She owned investment properties in the past and currently owns the house she lives in and the building that All Points is located in. In her spare time, she loves crafting, boating, and camping. Now, let's welcome to the show, Sue. Woo!
Sue. Yeah, we're so grateful to have you on. And so we have been telling everybody that this is the first podcast that we've ever had guests on. And the guests that we're bringing on are people like you who are in our network, who we do business with, that we collaborate with, that we do life with. And so we're super excited to have you here. For those of you who are listening, Sue is our title company at All Points Title. She closes 99.99999% of all of our deals, and she works with 100% of all of our private money lenders. And she is amazing. Like we, every now and then, the reason like there's that 0.00001% that we don't close at All Points is because sometimes when we're negotiating a deal, the other party will have a title company that they require that we close at, and we really can't negotiate it out of the deal. And so we're like, okay, well, let me tell you just before we get into Sue's freedom story, let me just tell you that one of the times that we used this outside title company, it was such a nightmare. And we just didn't trust what was going on. So we asked Sue to go ahead and do something for us. I think you were running title or something like that. And as you ran title and this other title company ran title, Sue actually found something running title on that property that the other title company did not find. And I can't remember if we ended up closing on that deal still in solving it, but it was like the proof in the pudding of why we use All Points Title and Sue for all of our closings.
Well, yeah, and I'm a little closer to Tiffany in the closings, and I would say of the 0.001 times that we don't use All Points, it's because I'm kicking and screaming and mad because we're not using All Points. And B, like you just said, something most likely goes wrong. And It proves to us every time. It's without a doubt, and I remember one time, like you said, the one time the other title company said, well, we're not really concerned, worried about that. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. But we're going to get into you running title and you being our, preferred choice for everything that we do, I consider as your superpower. So we're actually going to get into that as in part of the podcast. But before we do, Sue, I want you to tell us your freedom story. That's really what our journey is about. The Freedom Show, the Freedom family of companies. Like we are very much passionate about talking about freedom and how people get there, what freedom means to them. So if you wouldn't mind telling us, number one, what freedom means to you, and number two, take us on the journey of your freedom story.
Well, freedom to me means being able to cut out early on a Friday evening or Friday afternoon if I want, if things are slow, to go camping or boating. We're here in the trenches late most nights, but it gives me the ability to, disconnect on the weekends if I want to be able to spend time with my kids, my family, my grandkids. And that's what freedom is to me, being able to spend time with my kids. I still have two little ones at home. Well, they're not little, they're 11 and 10 now. So it also lets me go to their sporting events or, be their Girl Scout leader. Gives me that freedom to do that.
Yeah, so you're really speaking to time freedom, which Flip and I talk about a lot too, right? We want to be able to do what we want when we want. Mm-hmm. And as a business owner, you have that freedom to be able to set your own schedule, right? You're not a W-2 employee of somebody else where you have to request time off. So I love that. So how did it come to be? What was your journey like when it came to why did you fall in love with title? How did you land on that becoming the business? How did you decide that this was the business that you wanted to run forever? Share your story about that.
For me, it wasn't a conscious choice. I got married when I was young and started having children, and then my husband decided he wanted to go a different path. So to me, the job was my saving grace. I realized that I love what I do. I like that consistency. I like the challenge. I like the being something besides a mom. I was a business owner. I was a leader. I was a supervisor. I like that challenge. And so for me, what started out as co-oping my senior of high school, turned into my life choice. And I discovered that I really like what I do. I started out title examining. We used to not do anything. It wasn't on a computer then. It was all in books. So you physically had to go to the courthouse and open these great big books and look at every document. And I did that for a couple years in 5 different counties and discovered that's what I like to do. I don't do that so much anymore. We get to do it on computers now, but I still like that aspect of researching and seeing how long these people have owned this house and what family members have done with it. And I don't know, to me, that's the history, if books could talk or walls could talk.
Yes. Right. Yes. What a great journey. So you learned that you enjoyed this aspect of it. How did it come to be that you were starting your own company or partnering with somebody to start your own company? What did that look like?
The original owner was Frank Frolke. He started the business, and he always said when he retired that he would let Brenda and I buy him out, so to speak. And when you're 18 and your boss is in his 40s or whatever, you don't think that's ever going to come to play. But in 2008, he decided that he was ready to retire. And he let Brenda and I buy him out, which was great. He did it perfect. It wasn't a lump sum. He let us do it slowly over a couple years, and it worked out. He was fantastic. He still comes into work every day here. He still has an office here.
Oh, wow.
He comes in every day and checks on us to make sure we're doing okay. He's not an attorney anymore. He's not part of the company. He just comes in to check on us.
I did not know that.
Brenda retired in 2021. I bought her out. So.
Wow.
So here I am. And hopefully someday my son will buy me out. So.
Oh my goodness. This is such a great story. This is one of the reasons why I love bringing our network into these podcasts, because there's stories that we've never even heard before.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's incredible. So you just touched on something. You touched on it would be great if your son, and we know Scott, Tiffany's husband, we love Tiffany and Scott. They're dear friends of ours. You touched on him potentially buying you out at some point in time. So what is the vision for the future? Is this a legacy piece for you?
It is. It didn't start out that way, but since he came to work for me, it's ended up that way. So he hopefully will continue on. My plan is that him and Angie will take over together. Just because she's put the time in and he's put the time in, and they've earned that. My goal is when I retire, hopefully in 9 years. Scary thought. It went from double digits
20.
to single digits. Is that I will retain the building, turn all points over to them, retain the building, and just let them rent from me, and use that as part of my retirement, my investment. So.
I believe that's called cash flow.
Yes.
That is. And that wasn't how it ever started out, but it's just been a blessing that's come out that way.
I love the way life works. Sometimes Flip and I always say everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And, despite the ups and downs, we are here and we are grateful for the path that we've been on, and we are grateful for every struggle. There are days that we wake up and we're like, you know what? I'd rather have the problems I'm facing today than be starting all over.
Ooh.
Or be working for somebody else. So what an incredible journey. So, okay. So I love this aspect of you passing it down. What I really, really love about that when it comes to people like us working with people like you is that when you pass it down in the way that you are doing, and it has been passed down to you, there's such heart in what this company is, right? And who's built it, and the standards and the way that you do business. Because it's not somebody else coming in, buying a company, and then just turning it into something that everybody else is like, what, who is this company anymore? This isn't even, I don't even understand it. And we see that, very, very often when there's acquisitions of companies. And so Flip and I have done something similar to where, if anything happens to us, our estate planning documents literally transfer the property to the team, to the leaders that are in place that have been working with us over time, and their blood, sweat, and tears, have been poured into this family of companies to be able to continue it on. And that not just serves them as a team, it serves all the investors and the clients and the customers that you have, right? Because me now hearing this story that potentially Scott and Angie are going to take it over, I'm like, why would we ever leave? Like, it seems like the culture and the way that you do things will always remain the same. So how was that just a something that you decided to do because of the way it got passed down to you, or how did you decide to do something like that as opposed to selling it to a third party?
It was actually one of those panic moments like, oh crap, I'm the sole owner now. What do I do to make sure my employees have the longevity? Most of my employees have been here 20 plus years. So, they've invested their life here too. And I want to make sure if something happens to me that the company continues on.
Yes.
So I've got all that in place. If I were to pass away tomorrow, Scotty and Angie are stepped in, they're ready to go. They know what they have to do. And, hopefully it's without too much hiccups. But it was one of those, oh crap moments. If something happens to me, I want to make sure, everybody's taken care of.
Wow. I've never realized how similar our business ideas are in terms of, continuity and continuing things on. So I really, really love that. This is the type of the business I want to be. It's the type of business that I want to work with. So all the more reason that, we want to continue supporting you in every single way we can. So this is your story of freedom. I can see now how you have, created this freedom, how, you can, turn it off at any point in time and say, hey, team, you guys know exactly what you're doing. So I'm going to take off and I'm going to go have a girls trip and I'm going to go in the water because I see those Facebook posts.
Yeah. There is a girls trip every year. We know about it. Yeah.
I always love seeing the pictures. As soon as I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, it's girls trip again.
Yeah.
So I love that. So I'm so grateful that you've reached that freedom in your life, and I'm sure Scott is watching you, and you are such a great example of how you've been able to achieve it. And so that's really, really inspiring. So talk to us about the ups and downs of business. So Flip and I, we believe in keeping it real. And really talking to people about it's not always good times. There are some bad times. It is, hard to build businesses. And everybody's life has the ups and downs. And some people get discouraged and they're scared. They don't want to try. They're worried about what might happen. And so they don't take their first step, whether that be buying their first deal or investing in their, first investment opportunity, or just doing something courageous in life. So I like to tell stories that show where we fell down, and how we got back up. Because our goal is to encourage people that, hey, if we can do it, you can too, right? So would you mind sharing some type of get real story? It can be personal, it can be professional, whatever you want with our listeners.
The thing that popped into my head when you mentioned that is back in the early 2000s or maybe late 1990s, we were a big office. We had like 25 employees. We had a big government contract. And one day we got a fax over that says they were no longer doing business with us. They wanted somebody that can do the whole state of Ohio. And back then we were only doing certain counties. So overnight we went from 200 deals a month to like 10. And we had to instantly lay off 16 people.
Wow.
So I wasn't an owner then, but I was a supervisor. So I was part of the ones that had to go in and sit down with the people and let them know that we can no longer employ them. So for me, that's a big thing when I go to hire someone. I want to make sure that it's for the long run and it's not contingent upon one company.
Yes.
That's just one of those things that stick with me. One of the people we had to lay off a couple from the top and a couple from, a couple supervisors. And one of them was actually a good friend of mine. And to this day, she won't talk to me, but so that was one of those things. I mean, we used to go boating. And so that was one of the things that sticks with me. It's one of those things that I don't know, that you don't forget, that you don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
You learn. I mean, you have to learn from those. Not to put all your eggs in one basket. And so that was one of those life lessons.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. So If you were to talk to somebody, if you had somebody in front of you that was wanting to do something for the very first time, and as you know, even running your business, not just that example that you just gave us, just running your business day to day, there are struggles that come every single day, especially in real estate. It's just crazy. It just hits you all the time. So what would your piece of advice be? Because you have gotten up every single day and faced it, right? You faced the downs, and which led you to the ups. And the lessons that we learn are the reason why we're successful, right? Because it's not the successes. Like, the successes don't teach us much, and we don't even often celebrate them very much. But those lessons like really get us going. So what's your advice to people, and how you've made it? Like, what's the big thing, and why you've gotten to where you are?
Just knowing that every day is different. Every day has its own challenges, but the old saying, "This too shall pass," is what comes to mind. Some days are harder than others. There's more good days than bad days, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And just know that every day is different, and there are more good days than bad days. And the bad days are what makes the good days good.
That's right.
Without the bad days, you wouldn't realize you had good days.
I always tell Dani, I said that, well, the bad days make the good days gooder.
Gooder. Yeah, I think that's a really, really important lesson. There's always tomorrow. Tomorrow's a fresh new day. And I agree with you that there's more good than bad. We have experienced something very similar. If you could go back and start again, is there anything that you would do different?
Probably. I think I would prepare myself more for the future than I did. As far as building a buffer, so that when we lost that client or whatever, we had stuff to fall back on rather than laying people off right off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put more back for those bumpy days or those rainy days. Invest more or save more, so that when stuff like that happens, we're a little bit more prepared. We've got a little bit more time. We don't have to instantly do anything. We can take our time and figure it out slowly.
Yes. Yeah, I really love that. Flip and I, when we built company number 6, we said that exact thing. They said, this company is to build the wealth for the company, the passive income for the company, not just for us personally, not for our investors personally, which was really what we were building from the very beginning. We wanted passive income for us. We wanted to create passive income for our investors. But the company needed it too, to weather the storm when the market changes or economy changes, so that you can take a little bit of time to shift and adapt, because you're always going to do a shift and adapt. Things will never stay the same. They will always change. That's what we can predict. We can predict that things will change. And so having that extra buffer, like you said, I think that's really, really powerful. So thank you. That's a powerful lesson I think everybody needs to hear. Okay. So now I want to get into your superpower. So now we're really going to talk about the title company, why we value working with you. And I want you to really, I want to hear things maybe when investors work with you, some of the most frequently asked questions that they should be asking, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So when you're choosing a title company, you don't know which one's good, because you don't know which questions to ask that tell you somebody's good. I think track record, I think referrals, I think references, like us saying that we close, as many as possible through you, and why, because every time we don't, something happens. Hearing those stories, that's one way. But if you could tell us in the title company business, what are questions people are asking? What should they be asking? And how do they know how to recognize a good title company?
I think they need to ask first if they're doing a full search. A lot of title companies don't do a full title search. If they're doing a full title search, and if they can issue owner's policy without exception. There are some title companies out there that will issue on owners, but they'll accept off whatever they find. So even though you're getting a policy, they're not covering you for the issues that they find. Rather than try and clear them up, they'll just accept them off. So reviewing the commitment ahead of time, or reviewing the title ahead of time to see what exactly they're going to leave in there.
Is there a way for people to ask a question before they work with a title company and know that they're going to do this or no?
Probably not. Just asking maybe how long they've been in business and how long their title examiners have done title. I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. So, not necessarily that they've been doing titles for a long time is going to be the cure-all or whatever, because we all can miss stuff. It would just give you a little bit more, because there are a lot of, when things are good, title companies pop up out of nowhere. And then those of us that are left when things slow down are the ones that have put the time in, I guess.
Yes, we say that often too. Work with the people, have seen the ups and downs, and are still around.
Even though I've been here almost 41 years, we've actually been in business almost 60. So,
wow.
Yeah. Before Frank, it was Fred. And Fred started in the 60s. So,
wow, that's incredible.
So I have a question. So, do all title companies have the same tools?
Yes,
Meaning,
they do.
Okay.
Yes,
so that's what
we may have different software and stuff, but we all have the same tools that at our disposal that we can use.
Yeah, because that's what because I know we keep saying how we use you for practically everything, and I just envision like a toolbox, right? I envision All Points Title having this massive toolbox to do the job, right? And all these other title companies, they just have this little dinky toolbox, and
I like that clip.
Yeah, and they're just going, boy, I wish I was them, but it proves the point, because that's how I see it, you know, and they're just blatantly lazy. Okay, that's good to know. All right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we pretty much do. Some of them don't have in-house attorneys, which we have an in-house attorney, which helps a lot, because I've got someone that can answer a question pretty quickly, where a lot of them don't. They have to reach out to another attorney outside their office. So I think that's a big tool for us, because we can do a lot more of the flexible stuff as far as like land contracts or subject twos and stuff, because we have an attorney at our disposal. But yeah, most of us have the same stuff at our disposal.
Yeah, I think that I like that you pointed that out just now, is that you are an investor-friendly title company. And I know many times when I'm asking people, or I even see it in Facebook forums, like who closes subject to deals, who closes land contract deals, who closes novation deals. It's always All Points Title, All Points Title.
We
and
try.
it's because
If we don't know what it's about, we try to figure it out and make it work.
Yes. Yeah. And then now I see that it's because you have an attorney right there who can actually do the research and, have the knowledge for you to feel, safe and comfortable closing these types of deals. So just mentioning that you're investor friendly, a lot of people, when they're getting into real estate investing, they're always going, who's the title company that I work with? Because it's so rare to find people who are investor friendly in the title company. So I think that's a standout piece. Anything else that you think is a frequently asked question or something they should know about you that sets you apart from everybody else?
We do the entire state of Ohio. So all 88 counties in the state of Ohio, which is great. And about 80% of what we do is investor stuff. So we're very familiar with investors. But we also do lender and real estate stuff too. As far as standout, I'm always checking emails or checking voicemails or text messages. So I'm fairly easy to get a hold of. If you have a quick question, I have some realtors that'll call me on the weekend, said, I just have a real quick question. What's owner's title insurance on this deal? So just knowing that they can reach me if they need to get a question answered real quick, I think helps a lot, or even just texting me and I can answer back. So.
Yeah, I actually personally love that as well. I think communication is the number one way to set yourself apart from everybody else, because sometimes it is so hard to get a hold of somebody. And sometimes when you get a hold of somebody, they're not the person that has the answer. Then they have to go find the answer, or you just, never hear back. I mean, too many times they're just too busy and they can't handle the load that they have. And you, when I email you, I can probably just sit there and look at my email and I know I'm going to get it back in about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and
I
not that,
panic
like,
if my emails have been up too long.
yeah. And obviously sometimes you're in a closing, you can't do that, but that's
Right.
literally been my experience, is that if I send an email, it's very likely within the next few minutes I'm going to see that reply, just because you're so quick. And whenever I call you, I don't think I've ever gotten your voicemail. I think that you've just always been there to answer the phone, and be able to get me the answer either immediately or to get it very, very quickly thereafter,
We're
if you
at
had
that age
asked
where people can
the
pull it up
attorney.
on their phone and get an answer instantly, and they expect, even if you got
Yes.
to call somebody, that you get an answer instantly. So we try to
Yeah.
accommodate that if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I remember there was one point that I was talking to Tiffany, and I'm going to get into who Tiffany is because I keep saying your name here. But we were talking about it, and she's like, "Well, we can call Sue," and I'm like, "No, don't call Sue; she'll answer." We're like, "Don't bother her. Let's figure this out."
I love that because
I do
it's the
too.
equal respect, right?
Yep.
Right.
Because we do know that you reply, but we also respect your time.
Right,
So we try to
exactly.
only call or text or email when we absolutely need you. So I love that. So, okay. I'm really, really excited that we got to have you on the show. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to end our podcast with a fun game that we like to play with everybody called Real Quick with Flip. So before we do that, you're listening to The Freedom Show with Flip and Dani, and our guest is Sue Biddle. We will be right back after this short commercial break.
Add new income streams to your financial statement. Freedom Family Investments can help. Own property and get paid rent. Join funds and get paid interest. Wealth is well-being. Own your own future. Freedom Family Investments. Get more time to focus on what matters. Learn which investing path is for you, where to start, and who to trust. Visit freedomfamilyinvestments.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're so excited, and I actually, it's Sue Biddle-Jewell. I forgot the last part of your last name.
That's all
So
right.
Sue Biddle-Jewell is who we're with today, and we are going to jump into the last segment of our podcast, which was lots of fun. And I know, Flip, you did a little bit of homework on this one, right?
I did.
All right, so real quick with Flip.
So today,
let's
Real
get
Quick
it
with Flip.
rolling.
And I preface this before we started recording, saying this is like this, that, or the other. And so just to remind you, so if I say cornflakes or Raisin Bran, you can choose one of those two, or you can say Lucky Charms if you like Lucky Charms better than those two. Now, I keep saying Tiffany throughout this podcast. So Tiffany is our transaction coordinator for the Freedom Family Investments, and she's been with us for about 29 years now. And
That's what it feels like, right?
And so Sue had mentioned her son Scott. Well, Tiffany is our transaction coordinator, and Tiffany is married to Scott, and so there's this connection,
Yes.
right? And so
keeping it all in the family.
that's right. And I know that when we've done our podcast in the past, Tiffany's always listening to our podcast. So I asked her, has she listened to our podcast? She said yes. And I said, okay, well, we're going to record with Sue here in a couple of days, and I'm going to do the this or that at the end. And she's like, oh, and so her and Scott gave me some suggestions for this. I'm not going to tell you which ones. You're pretty sure you're going to guess, but I'm not going to tell you which ones. But I had some good ones picked out, but then under their supervision, I selected some others. So, all right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, country music or rock and roll?
Country music.
There we go. Camping or hotel?
Oh, camping.
Sleep in or stay up late?
Sleep in.
There you go. So I know it's already snowing in Ohio, by the way, and crazy. So just imagine in the future, in the spring, it's now starting to get warm out. Do you have the windows open or do you turn on the AC?
I'm a windows open girl.
Yeah, there we go. Swimming pool or the beach?
Swimming pool. I'm not a sand person.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so we did this one once before. I like this one. Would you rather live in 1969 or 2069?
I was actually alive in 1969. I think 1969. I think it was a simpler time.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm with you. All right, vanilla ice cream or chocolate?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I actually like them swirled.
Oh, there you go. There's the other.
There's
That's
the
perfect.
other.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Pineapple pizza or candy corn?
Ooh, how about other?
Anything but. Yeah, sorry. I think Tiffany's the only person I know that likes candy corn.
Yes,
Comedy movie,
exactly.
comedy movie or a scary movie.
Comedy.
All right, last one. Kids or grandkids?
Grandkids.
Poor
Don't
Scott.
tell Scott.
Well, no, you're kidding me. Tiffany's waiting for this to come out because so I asked her for some suggestions, and she came back with not only like 3 or 4 from her, but 3 or 4 from Scott, and they both had kids or grandkids. They both wanted to know.
I love my children, but I love my grandchildren.
Yeah. My sister had a little thing on the wall in her kitchen, and it says, "Grandkids are the reason that you didn't murder your teenager."
Exactly. That's our reward.
That's your reward. That's exactly right.
Yep.
I love it. Well, this has been a great episode. I was super excited about having you on. I think that we don't talk about title companies and the importance of having the right one enough.
Yes.
So I think this is a valuable episode that a lot of people are going to get some great gold nuggets from. Thank you for sharing your passion with us, your freedom story with us. And I hope a lot of people, start calling you up and start working with you, because you're the most reliable title company that we've certainly ever worked with. And we just appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to close things up. Thank you again, Sue. And we're going to see everybody next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Dani and Flip. Bye.
What a great episode. I really am so excited to have Sue on because, I mean, we've been using Sue. Actually, we were using Sue before we actually lived in Ohio. We were in Arizona. We were using Sue before we even got to Ohio. So it was really great to have her on. And I wanted to, real quick, before we talk about anything else, I wanted to point out that one of the things that she said is if you use a different title company, make sure that they run a full title.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about it. That's a title company telling you to ask your title company, make sure you do your job.
Right.
Not just a little bit of it. Make sure you do all of it.
Yep. Yes.
And it's just that's so crazy because it's and that's why I asked about does everyone have the same tools? Because I just imagine Allpoints having so many more tools than every other title company because they're that good. Mm-hmm. But no, they're just inherently lazy. The other companies, not Allpoints. Yeah, the other companies. And so I love that. That was a huge gold nugget.
Yeah. I was actually just going to say, that toolbox analogy that you said was like, oh, ding, 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 ding. Everybody can do this. Yeah. They just don't. And then another thing that I thought was really interesting is because we've known Sue for years, and yet this was the first time that we realized we had so much in common with regard to how we are building our businesses and how we're passing it down for legacy.
Yep.
And for us, I guess it could be legacy, even though it's not our kids. It feels like, it feels like family, right? We feel like we're continuing to pass it down to family because we're building these companies together with a lot of other team members. And she's doing the exact same thing. And I think continuity of service and culture and the mission and the vision behind the company, that just speaks volumes, because when you bring in a new CEO or a new owner of a company that hasn't gone up in the ranks, and we can speak to this from experience, there is a vision that can change within the company. There are processes that you put in place for a reason because of lessons learned that can change. And it can just shift the entire organization, and you can see turnover. You can just see, in our case, for a little bit with our CEO, fortunately, he was just an amazing leader. Mm-hmm. So he actually did, drive the culture up, but some of the processes did change. Mm-hmm. Some of the vision did change a little bit, some of it for the good, and some of it is things that we changed and, we went back to. So I thought that was really powerful for her to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that, in 9 years, we'll be talking to Scott as the owner of the company.
And Tiffany will be the owner of Freedom Family Investments. She'll be running that. Give Tiffany some anxiety there. But just the fact that so Sue does all this. She's she is running the company, and she has 2 daughters, 18 grandchildren. Sorry, eight children total, but 2 youngest daughters, 18 grandchildren, 3 great grandchildren, a Frenchie, miniature Yorkie, guinea pig, and a potbelly pig.
What? Yeah, when you were reading that in the bio, I was like, whoa, my goodness. I don't think I even realized.
I was reading through that going, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Oh, well, I am super excited. I hope everybody that's listening got some value out of that and learned something about what you should be asking your title companies, and learned why we feel like it's so important to be working with somebody like Sue. And entrusting her with our business, because she ensures that we are safe, that our private money lenders are safe. And so this is just a powerful episode for us. So let's close it out and talk a little bit about what we have going on right now. We are getting ready to launch our new income fund.
Yes.
I just finished recording a podcast with Keith today, and I was talking about this very thing. Our Master Note program still remains the most popular program that we have. And so we're actually shifting our income fund ideas to mirror the Master Note program, so that we can actually have a fund that will give the same benefits of high returns and liquidity. And we are going to be introducing for the very first time a 90-day liquidity option, so that people can test us out. Just test the waters, because we've told you many times that people who invest with us, we tell them, hey, start slow. Don't give us $500,000 right away unless you actually know us, trust us, and you vetted us, and you feel good about it. Then please, do so. We would love to be able to put that money to work. But if you're a new investor and you're getting to know people, then it's nice to dip your toe in the water. And that could be with $25,000 or $50,000. And then you can experience it with us and say, hey, I really love that and I want to do more. And that's when you contribute more money. That's maybe when you go from a 90-day liquidity type investment opportunity to a year, or 3 years, depending on what we have available at the time. If you're a W-2 income earner who has a high tax burden, maybe you're going, okay, I do really like you guys. Now tell me about those other investment opportunities that reduce my tax burden. They will be longer. And so, but now you've got that confidence, right, of testing us first and getting to know us and understanding what that experience looks like. And that says volumes. Right back to the diving board example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So once you dive off the diving board, all you want to do is do it again.
And
so
again.
Just do the low diving board with us to start if you're brand new. And we would love to work with you. And so right now we do have that income fund launching. But as you heard in this podcast, we talked a lot about our private money lenders and the opportunity you have to interact with somebody like Sue Biddle. And so we're super excited that we get to work with her arm in arm and build businesses together. So we invite you to ask about any investment opportunities we might have available at this point in time. All you have to do is go to chatwithfreedom.com, and you're going to scroll down. If you want to talk about turnkey real estate investments, Sue works with us on turnkey real estate deals too. So you're going to get on the calendar of JR, our investor relations team. And then if you want to talk about private money lending or master notes or funds or syndications or anything like that, anything in general, you're going to jump on the calendar of Ben and CJ. So chatwithfreedom.com, just scroll down, look at those calendars, jump on the call with the person that you see fit, and explore the ideas and opportunities that you have. And we would love to welcome you into the Freedom family. That's what we're passionate about doing. And we're excited for this episode and next week's episode as well. So you want to close this out here, Flippy?
Yeah. So make sure you join us next week. And our guest is going to be...
Beep. We don't know.
I think it's Santa Claus.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions and information on the show are not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss.